For today's practice, you will need 2 blocks if you have them, a mat, and also a yoga strap. Take a comfortable seat and either sit back on your heels or cross-legged or even on your back, and just take a moment to settle yourself onto your mat and into your body. Start by settling your breath, steady in and out. And we'll go ahead and get ready to start moving.
And then go ahead and work yourself out of your seated position, wherever that happened to be. Take your blocks to the top of your mat and have your strap close by. I'm going to come to just your basic tabletop position, and we won't be here for long. So as far as keeping it hands-free, we won't be 100% hands-free, but we'll be a lot more hands-free than we would be in a general vinyasa practice. One way that you can take pressure off of your shoulders and wrists is to actually elevate your hands on blocks. So, in that way, we'll alleviate some of that pressure through your collarbones if you'd like to do your cat-cow with me here. So on your inhale, fill all the way up with the top of your chest and the back of your head. And then exhale and round. Push the ground away from you, spread those collarbones broad. Inhale and roll forward. See if you can articulate your upper back equal to what's going on in your low back lumbar spine area. And inhale and forward. And it's funny because even though I've done this earlier today, it still feels just as good now as it did earlier. Into that extension. Take your blocks up on the high side, or on the medium side rather, and we'll go right into that shoulder opener. Just really simple to start at first. So one thing I do want to mention is that once you bring your forearms into this parallel position, if you can see where my knees are, if you were to walk your knees back a little bit, that's going to give you a little bit more space and a little bit more greater opportunity to open up the shoulders. So on your in-breath, take your hips back and your ears between your biceps. Don't worry so much about sitting your hips to your heels necessarily. If you get a little pinchy in the top of the shoulder, you can come out of it and maybe try slightly wider blocks. I noticed I went in there, my blocks were a little bit more narrow than I like. This is already better. I'm gonna allow my head to just move toward the mat. It may not touch, that's fine. Good, inhale, rock forward to your plank. And then do that one more time. And you can even go one step further by bending your elbows and bringing your thumbs towards your shoulders. As you do that, you might find that you can move deeper into that shoulder flexion. So forehead on the ground or even a towel. Let's stay with this for another 3 rounds of breath. And then on an inhale, roll your way out of it. Go ahead and take your blocks to the side. Again, if you know that you need a little neck support, you can keep one block in the center of your mat and choose whether or not you feel you benefit from using it. Take your arm underneath you. And again, if you're using the block, this is what it would look like. I'm just gonna use it like a little pillow. So I'll lay my head down on the block, hips square, and then once I do that, I'm gonna lean back in the direction of the arm that's underneath me, away from my hand. You can add a little bit of a twist to this by just walking your hand up and over, just taking a little bit more of a twist. Slide that hand back down and do the same thing on the other side. So reaching your arm under, taking the head to the ground and leaning away from your hands of the arm that's underneath you. Walk the top arm up and over. Take another breath or two in here. it on back. Take the block off to the side. And how about this too, just for ease? Take one block to the left of the mat and the other block to the right of the mat. That way they're there for you when you are ready to use them. Just gonna pass through a quick 5 breaths in downward facing dog. If your preference is to, again, stay off of your hands and shoulders, take a child's pose instead. So you choose, both are good. And you know, for the remainder of our practice, let's let that be understood amongst friends. That if you need to be on your knees and off your hands and wrists, that's great. Maybe take a moment here to pedal out the feet. Yeah, this is the part of the practice that I always think like it's just a means of taking inventory in your body, right? Where is the tightness? Giving that a little bit of respect and attention as you move through your practice. Take a big breath in here, look forward, walk your feet to your hands. Take your toes together to touch and take a big breath in, round through your upper back and scoop out your belly. Exhale and fold over your legs. Inhale, come to stand, reach all the way up, look up towards your hands. Exhale, your arms to your sides. Walk your feet apart so they're about hips distance apart. Take a look at your feet and make sure they're even, right? You might find that like one foot is in front of the other. Just look down, just notice. Again, a lot of this is just the powers of observation, right? Take a fold and a bend at your hips. Turn the top of your thighs back and come into like a little bit of a squat. Take your hands on top of your knees, and we're gonna do like a standing cat-cow. So on an inhale, scoop your belly under, round, tuck your chin. And then stick the tailbone out with the chest and keep the collarbones broad, straighten the arms. Do that again. Round under. And inhale, go back into that extension, shoulders down. If you notice your arms are still bent, try to keep them straight and your chest nice and tall. And under. And back into that extension. Again, looking forward at the wall in front of you. Slide your hands down your shins. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Now you'll notice I'm not really in a forward fold, I'm more in a squat. Take one hand on the outside of one of your legs, doesn't matter which one, I'm not gonna cue right and left today. Take your other hand on your hip and just take a little bit of a twist. Now I always say this, I have my hand on my hip to remind me not to turn my whole body, right? I only wanna turn my shoulders and upper back. And then I'm gonna take my gaze and just bring it right up over my shoulder toward the ceiling. Let it out. Sometimes in twists, right, we hold our breath a little bit. We want to make sure that we're moving that air in and out of the body. On an inhale, unwind and do the same thing on the other side. So again, doesn't matter which way you start. I usually start moving toward my right, but there's no rules here. Take a big inhale here, unwind, place your hands on the ground, walk your feet together so your toes are touching, leave a little space in your heels, scoop out your belly, round on the upper back just like we did before, exhale and fold over 2 straighter legs than you had before. Take the weight into your heels, take a breath, let it out. Wow, inhale all the way up. Sometimes, just taking that pause for a moment to remind yourself to breathe is really powerful. Inhale, stretch up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale and fold, Uttanasana. Every time you move through this pose, try to get that belly a little closer to your thighs. Inhale, long spine, lift the back of your head, look forward. Exhale, step your left foot back and be very generous with that step. Lower your left knee to the ground and keep your right knee right over your right ankle. So that is the side of my body that is closest to the camera. Take a few breaths in. Now notice in your body, when you hold this shape, the rear leg, the leg that's behind you, in this case it's the one on my side that is away from the camera. If I contract my glute a little bit, it allows me to move into a deeper hip flexor stretch. Take an inhale, lift your left knee away from the ground, step it forward to meet your right leg. Inhale, take a breath in around through your upper back. Exhale and fold. Inhale, long spine, lift your head, step your right foot back, right knee to the ground. And again, that's the side of my body that is closest to the camera. Send your left knee forward and engage your right glute. Again, very simple pose. My hands, again, even though they're on the ground, there's just very little pressure in my hands as I hold that position. On your in-breath, lift your right knee away from the ground, step your right foot forward to meet your left. Exhale and fold. Inhale to stand, look up. Exhale, arms to your sides, hands by your sides, Tadasana. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale and fold. Inhale, long spine, look up. Always remember to do that. Step your left foot back, left knee on the ground, just like we did before. Slide everything forward, take your left hand to the ground or block. Walk your right foot off to the right, and you'll see, you maybe can see how my toe is slightly pointed away from my hip, almost at, since it's my right foot, it's like a 2 o'clock position. I'm gonna take my hand on the inside of my knee and press my knee away from it and lean back. So I'm not leaning back with the shoulder rolling in, I'm actually rolling that shoulder blade onto my back and then leaning back. Now this certainly creates a sensation of a deeper stretch in my hip flexor on the other side. And you always just want to go to a place where it still feels okay, right? Still feels doable, you can still stay with a steady breath throughout. All right, release that right hand, heel toe your foot back in. Take your other block that is on the right, look at that. Set that up, right? Lift your left knee up, away from the ground, walk that foot in about 6 inches or so, and then straighten both of your legs. And in fact, I'm gonna pop my blocks up on the high side, because my goal right now isn't to see how far forward I can get in my pyramid pose, but it's to more see if I can do 2 things. 1, square my hips off, and 2, lengthen my right hamstring. So as you press your right foot into the floor, isometrically drag your right heel back and lengthen your spine at the same time. So in other words, I'm sort of drawing my chest forward. I don't know if you guys can tell where I am in this room, but I'm facing the parking lot. Something. Normally we would cue to direction, right? Not right or left, but. All right, take another breath in here, bend your left knee, step your left foot forward to meet your right, and fold. And do the same thing on the other side. So stepping your right foot back, right knee to the ground, and we'll take that twist. You can just take the block on the left side out of the way. Wiggle your left foot over and away. And take a twist. So now my toe is at my 10 o'clock position. I always think back to driver's ed when I say stuff like that, because I can remember my driving teacher saying 10 and 2 o'clock all the time with your hands. He was really a stickler about that. I can't imagine what he'd be thinking now with everyone on their phones. All right, guys, let's walk those feet back in. Again, pop those blocks up on the high side. Straighten both of your legs, walk the right foot in a little. And so I spoke to this before, but again, and I can see my reflection in the Zoom camera. You'll notice in my upper back, right, I'm not rounded in my spine, I'm long and neutral. So I'm not extended, I'm not sticking myself into a back bend. I'm staying as straight as I can in my spine. And as I reach my chest forward, I'm trying to lengthen my tailbone back. Let's talk about yoga. You know, we think it's just stretching, but really a lot of it is alignment and muscle action. And that's what keeps this practice safe over the long term, right? It's not about the fancy poses necessarily. Your body is only going to go so many directions. But doing it with, intentionally and with awareness. I think so much of our movement pattern throughout a day is it's in our subconscious, and we repeat these patterns over and over until we're not even aware of it anymore. And over time, that can, not always, but it can create dysfunction and injury. Bend your right knee, step your right foot forward, take the blocks to the side. Take a breath, exhale and fold over 2 straightish legs. Soften your knees, come to standing all the way up. Exhale your arms to your sides. All right, guys, thanks for joining me for our 20-minute hands-free yoga practice. We're gonna continue posting things every few days, as much as we can. So if you have any requests, you can reach out and text us or leave something in the comments below. Have a great day.